Hello my good students, welcome back to our War on the Sea Let's Play series as the Japanese, and we are in a spicy position, aren't we? We have recently beaten back a invasion going towards Formosa. We've decided to land and successfully, we're very close to taking Del Monte, aren't we? So it's looking like we're going to take that within the next couple days or so. But after those two successes, we are met with one step back. Looks like the US want to try the old switcheroo and trade Del Monte for Okinawa, and that is absolutely terrifying because of course that means we have a massive gap in power in our back lines towards our home front, and that is very scary indeed. So we're going to have to put all of our resources into getting, I think we're going to get the Soryu out and finally make or complete the Kido Batai group. We will arrange that somewhat historically. I'll do a little bit of research to remind myself of exactly how that was arranged historically, and try and get as close to that as possible. But first I think we're going to get Soryu out to scout out our back line and help that or help out our supply interceptors, which are going to be ferrying resources backwards and forwards from Kure to Okinawa. Let's go to the strategic map to have a better look at that, shall we? So, just a recap. We have of course landed on Del Monte as I have just said, and the balance of power is looking absolutely amazingly in our favour. We have of course struck Cebu as well with our invasion support with our two battleships, so the airfield there now is down to a level 1 airfield, so we should be fairly safe to get our supplies out of the Philippines unharmed. We do have some zeros over here. 18 zeros from Akagi have been launched to help that just in case, and we have some zeros over here from Unyo. 18 zeros once again on their way to help out with that. But of course the main problem is this particular group here. We have no idea what is in this task force. We might be able to have a quick look if we take this howitzer back to base, but it's not too sure where to go now, I'm sure, because Okinawa no longer has an airfield there. It's a shame. We did have this and this howitzer scouting out, I think for the previous invasion threats that we dealt with at night, but of course not in the right areas for this particular threat. So it's not looking too bad. After a bombardment and with our troops just below 1,000 and our supplies just below 1,000, the balance of power is not looking too monstrously against us. It is of course against us, but it's looking about between the 33 to 40% in our favour there. So luckily we do have our supply interceptors out. We do have 1,500 troops on Kure. We're not going to be able to move all of those, I don't think, with this particular convoy in one go, but that's absolutely fine. We're going to look more at giving Okinawa some supplies so that we can survive that assault. We are of course going to reinforce with troops there, so we're going to look at that. But first we're going to bring out the Soryu. If we move across over here, luckily it's gone quite close to that actually with Akagi. We're going to get the Soryu, and we're of course going to get, I think, some sort of destroyer. We're going to get something fairly cheap. We only have 10 points left. Say fairly cheap, but I think in Akatsuki would be very nice indeed. We have two of those out already, so I think for the sake of variety, we're actually going to get the Shiratsu out here, the Udachi, and that's going to be a tad cheaper as well. One destroyer, of course, nowhere near enough to protect that, but that's just in case we do come into contact with a submarine is what I'm thinking. Really, we might want to attach these two supply interceptors for now, just so they do have some more support, but we shall see about that. I'm actually going to bring the Soryu directly over to Okinawa so that we have some more troops over there from the Udachi. So that's going to come straight on over. What exactly was the speed of the Soryu? See if it's high enough. Gone past it just here. So the speed there is 34 knots. That really should be able to keep up with our light cruisers and such. Let's go to Nagara and such. Yeah, 36. That will certainly keep up. Only a couple knots difference there. So this will still be a fairly fast supply convoy if we do attach Soryu to our supply interceptors, but they do still have to get to Kure, and that's going to take 3.2 hours there. How long was it going to take Switcheroo to come out over here? That's going to take 15 hours. So we are going to have, I believe, that's going to process the progress of the Okinawa invasion there before we land on there. So that's going to be fairly interesting what we have there. Looks like we may have a submarine over here. We put our supplies over here. No, we've not. Let's unload all cargo onto Saipan there. We have certainly managed to do that. Let's come back out then before that possible submarine can catch us. Like so, and that was to upgrade Saipan, I believe. It is indeed. Let's do that. Now have a level 2 airfield there, and we can actually launch the planes that we need from there, which is excellent. We finally have some Air Force available from Saipan, and what an Air Force it is. Really liking the fact that we've got Emily's about, mostly because they can carry depth charges, and I think that's what we're going to launch against this submarine once we've got our supplies out of the way of that, because if we launch that immediately, you can just absolutely bet that that's going to be targeting our supplies. So we'll wait for them to move away, and then we'll hunt out that submarine. And of course we'll move our carriers away as well. We have, I believe, Shokaku and Zuikaku. Yeah, Shokaku, Kaga and Taiyo over here. So that's a lot of assets to lose to one submarine. I think we're going to bring that out over here like so. Just going to track the rest of our supplies there. So we have our major, more engineering focused task force over here as well, and the rest of our supplies will be towards Peleliu. We do see a possible enemy submarine over here. Can we launch Mavis's, I believe, with depth charges over that, I think, like so. And we might want to launch some zeros as well. I'm going to try without bombs now, because the bombs just aren't hitting, and I think really now that we have the volume of zeros over here from Kaga and such, we should be able to strafe that rather than hit it with bombs. I think it would be a bit better there. We have the firepower to get rid of a sub with one strike, hopefully there. So let's carry on and see what we can do about Okinawa. That's the goal for today. Okay, so we have managed to get this Hibernate that was scouting around Okinawa with some fuel to see exactly what has bombarded that. And there's quite the major force over here. Let's just pause to have a look at that. So they certainly have a CV over here. I imagine that's a Bogue, and yeah, we can see one just over here. So that's excellent. Do of course have some supply ships. We do have a Brooklyn. Do have, I believe that's a Harris. I can't remember off the top of my head. We do have a Pennsylvania. Interesting. So this is rather a mean task force, actually. Very surprised that they don't appear to have launched too many troops at all for the amount of cargo ships they have here. It is three cargo ships rather, and an Atlanta over there. But they also have, of course, destroyers and light cruisers, which can, of course, carry troops and supplies. So it looks like they haven't bothered loading the cruisers and destroyers up there, which is very, very lucky for us. So we're going to lose the Hypersa here in this particular dogfight. There's not really any point in keeping us anyway. See if we can shoot down one of these Hellcats. We can indeed. Excellent. We're quite likely going to go down to some of the flak, especially with that Atlanta about there. We'll try and shoot down as much as we can here. It's not got a base to go back to. It's launched all of the Hellcats from that Bogue, which is rather nasty. There we go. Gonna go down? No, not quite. We're smoking very, very heavily. Who are we after here? Going for, maybe we can micro this a tad better to go on to a better target there. It's not going to make any difference whatsoever. This task force is retreating as well, but I would like to get some blood. But it looks like it's not to be. There we go, all down. There's nothing more we can do here. Let's just get out. So that is, of course, retreating. It's coming this southerly direction here. I'm sure just going back to base, quite likely Wake Island or Midway. Might even be trying to sneak around over here. We have avoided the submarine over here. We have launched out some Emily's, so we'll just try and have a look at that, I think. Okay, so we have just managed to unload all of our supplies from Switcheroo and our supply interceptors onto Okinawa, and that has turned the situation around a tad, looking far more favourable for us. I think what we're going to do is send one more supply trip back and forwards from Kure to Okinawa, just to even out our supplies there, so that we don't burn down and actually lose that now. So we're going to go back, like I say, to Kure and sort that out. However, things aren't entirely safe. We have just noticed a flight of some sort of fighters over Okinawa from the Allies. Looks like they were coming westwards, so we have launched a handful of zeros from Switcheroo to check that out, see if we can spot anything before it's too late this time. Imagine doing that. So that's the plan at the moment. Going to keep Switcheroo actually out over here to try and combat anything with its scouts and of course attack planes. Going to try and bring up our submarines from over here to help out there. And really see what else is going on. To be honest, let's carry on. Okay, so it's the turn of the next day. You can see in the bottom left it is 5 in the morning, and we have two very nasty looking situations on our hands. The first is that our submarines are painfully close to what is a possible battleship task force over here. You can see I've placed a couple markers down. In the previous day we did sight a North Carolina task force out south of Peleliu, but too far away to really do much about. And of course we've sighted something else over here outside of Davao. So one of these is going to be the previously sighted North Carolina task force, but which one is that going to be is the question. Don't have any supplies and such on Davao to use the airfield, unfortunately, and it's looking like we might well be taking Del Monte very soon indeed. Just take an update on Okinawa, see if that's changed. It hasn't just yet, we haven't had the time to cycle that round. Going to see if our submarines will catch up with this. If they're moving away, they certainly won't, but they are moving in, so that is absolutely brilliant. Going to bring the subs then, if that's the case, out a tad so that we can get on their side and then bring them back down, I think, just so we're on one of their boards there. What direction is this going? We'll have to check that out in a minute, but I think we're going to get right on top of this and then go to tactical. We're mispositioned though. Looks like they're to our rear. What do we have? It is the North Carolina task force. We have a county and a St. Louis then over here, and that is rather scary. We might have to go for the county because that's in the rear. It's going to take us some time to turn around, of course. We're going to have to turn to port, aren't we? Yes, we are. Let's reduce our depth to 30 meters very quickly, just in case they have a scout in the air. I can't. There we go. They're just right on top of us. Let's take a reading and get on top of that. 7.6 kilometers away from us is the county. What about number 6? That's 4.1, which is the one of the closer ships there. That's rather interesting. So we're going to identify the county, of course. Where are we? There we go. Have a hell of a lot available, but we have sunk 4 of them, which should leave a good amount of them about. Do have a 0 over here, which is providing sight, so we're going to keep that away from the flak. I'm just going to reduce its speed so it can keep sight. We didn't actually identify that county, did not press the button to do so. That's Crown Colony. There we go. Brilliant, and I'll return when we are within range. So we are in range, but there's a very small plot twist. We have changed our minds because we're very fickle and we're going to go for the North Carolina. That's simply because it is the larger threat, and I really don't want to have the possibility of that going to one of our bases and bombarding it. They can of course do that with the county, but we're going to fire 5 torpedoes at a 2-degree spread for this North Carolina. We have a 10-degree lead to make up for that, but that's really minimal indeed, and we're going to fire out before our torpedoes are fired, so they're chasing it. So we do have a lead on that. They should be able to catch up and get over there. I'm just a little bit wary of hitting the destroyer over here before we get to the North Carolina, but that's looking okay, and we should pass our torpedoes behind that destroyer there. So we're going to downscope, going to bring the 0 back over here, so that we can keep sight on that. And we're going to, of course, run away, dive down to, I think, 60 meters. Do we have a layer? We do not have a layer to hide under. That's okay. We're going to go to 3 knots, and we're going to go to their rear, of course, to get away from that sonar area. So how's that looking? Certainly hiding behind the destroyer there, which is absolutely brilliant. 5 torpedoes should be enough to sink this. I'm wondering about the lead there. It's not looking so bad, but only time will tell. Let's go and have a look. Well, unfortunately 5 torpedoes was not quite enough to sink that North Carolina, and that I believe is due to the 85% protection the torpedo bulge provides to North Carolina. And as you saw, we did focus a lot of our torpedoes onto the center of the ship, which is of course where that torpedo bulge will largely be. So it's rather unfortunate. Perhaps if we had hit majorly the bow or the stern a bit more focus there, that might have gone down, but not to worry. I'm hoping that will retreat. If not, that's an easy target for a second strike. We'll just have to shadow that and see which way that is going. Do we have a spare Glen? No, we do not. We might want to resupply a truck, but we've got so many torpedoes, it's not necessarily worth it just yet. We do have, of course, some planes out over here which we can use to scout out around truck anyway. So we're going to do that. It was going easterly, wasn't it? So we'll try and follow that out like so. Get that on a repeating path over here. Where is this particular 0 going? That should be able to scout it out if it does come to the west again. But we do have to worry about this particular task force over here. We're going to see which direction that's going. It does appear to be going north of Davao and leaving us alone there. But we do have, of course, our supply task forces over here in its possible way there, which is not ideal at all. Could try and strike that because we do have Akagi and Hiryu over here, as well as a Taiyo. So having said that, that's very, very tempting, but I do want to scout that out first. If they're going to leave us alone, I don't mind leaving them alone either for the minutes, so we can focus on Okinawa. What we're going to do then is send in some Bettys, once again with some large bombs, and we're going to try and intercept that, perhaps hit, if they do have a battleship there, and I very much suspect they do, try and hit the battleship there. Going to take away these pinpoints then, because the North Carolina has definitely moved, and that is launching out some scouts for us. But we don't have anything there to scout out, so we're going to leave them there. We can use the scouts to keep tailing that. Interestingly enough, it's because we've just moved time forwards. That's okay there. Let's see what happens with that then. Still moving out this way, so we're going to want to try and tail that with our submarines over here. That's not necessarily going to be very easy since they are much faster than the submarine. So we might want to move our carriers and be very, very cautious over here. These submarines aren't actually on a patrol route, so we'll try and get them out on a very wide patrol path around here. Keep an eye out, I think. Let's keep going. So, of course, our Bettys have found that battleship task force. We've got a South Dakota. That is rather scary indeed. Another county and a Brooklyn. We're going to try and hit the South Dakota then. We'll try and actually see if identifying that helps. I don't know why I've gone past Americans there. It's exactly what it is there. Let's go to South Dakota and identify that. We will form these Bettys up into a line ahead to begin with so that they can approach a bit better on target there. A little more narrow there. and we're going to try and reduce their altitude a tad. Actually going to go half our altitude to roughly 500 there, and see if the bombs become a tad more precise because of that. We're going to do the same over here, exactly the same over here, just line ahead, and actually reduce our altitude to about 500 or so there. And we're going to go to exactly 500 there, because that's going to bug me after I said half it from 1,000. So see if the bombs become a little more precise there, but of course that does come with the risk of getting closer to their AA and their small arms as well, so that's going to be fairly difficult. I would like to reduce our speed a tad to help our bombs out as well. We shall see about that. We're going to reduce our speed a tad there, and we're going to break and attack from here, I think. Like so. We have lost the lead aircraft there, so we did lose the target there. See, this is the problem of going too low now. We do have to pass through that nasty Brooklyn. This is why I just prefer to do our higher altitude bombs, because this just wouldn't happen, especially with now that we're letting their AA small arms come in. Much rather have gone for a high altitude, but we need to test these things. Not really lost anything too badly there, because that is ignoring us. Unfortunately, that's just a few resources from Peleliu we didn't need to spend there. So I think we're going to stick with the higher altitude bombs for the moment, if possible there. In the name of preservation. So let's keep going. And not long after that, we've managed to catch a very minor supply group just outside Peleliu. Looks like they're retreating to restock. It is an Arcturus and a Patapsco. Very, very easy, but we are still under the threat. They do have a couple artillery mounts, as you can see, so they could do some damage to our ships, but they are focusing the Jake, funnily enough, so we're actually going to mess around with that. Bring the Jake further away, gets that to the rear if possible before that gets shot down. You can see they're right on top of us here. Absolutely amazing. We've got a massive shot onto this Arcturus. Oh dearie dear. We don't actually have any HE left because we've found so many of these minor supply task force. We've got a magazine explosion onto the Patapsco. That's absolutely brilliant. So we'll have to refuel and rearm at truck, I believe, with this group. That's not to worry at all. That's amazing. So the Patapsco's down. That's excellent. We've had all of our destroyers on that, and the Arcturus down as well. Very easy. Thought it'd be somewhat entertaining to show you that posthumous explosion there. Excellent. We do have some shots going out to make sure they go down. Oh, a simple, glorious victory for the Japanese Empire there. But that all adds up. And you know what? That's going to remind me. That's a very nice 4 command points as well. Go to double check how that tallies up the total of the enemy sinkages there. 141. Still not quite halfway to that lovely 300 we need. Where is that? It's just here. Sea lanes are open at 300 ships sunk. And that means we're going to get 3 times the amount of supplies every week. So Del Monte is also ours, but it looks like they're going to land some reinforcements over there. Shouldn't be too much of a bother. If that is true, we only have 3 supply ships. It's quite likely a similar convoy to what we've just seen. We do have another force over here, so we're actually going to move our fighting force over here to deal with that as well. See which way that's going. It looks like they're actually going northwards. Might be over here as well. Let's see if they do land. No sign of anything. And a racing, that's around Iwo Jima. Ooh. Okay. We're certainly going to have to scout that out, so let's begin. They're really going for our back lines, aren't we? Oh, aren't they? Aren't they really going for our back lines? What do we have? Is that another South Dakota? No, that's a Queen Elizabeth and a Wichita, I think I saw. It's interesting that it is fairly minimal. We're not having the final number 7 ship this time. So that is a Queen Elizabeth and a Wichita. Well, that's going to be enough to bombard Iwo Jima, which is not ideal. But we do have Soryu about, so we might have to deal with that. How many... I've gone past it once again. How many Queen Elizabeths do they have left? This is actually not the last one, apparently. Interesting. Let's move that. Yeah, so they do have the Queen Elizabeth and the Baron as well. Interesting. Let's see if we can reduce that, shall we? So that was just here. You can see the amount of scouts. We will try and shoot some of those down, I believe. It's just annoying there. Let's bring the Soryu over. That's going to take some time, though. 17 hours. We're going to be very much at the mercy of time there, then. So let's carry on. Well, it appears we're going to have a very horrible invasion onto Iwo Jima. Do you remember, of course, earlier on we cited that Pennsylvania and the Bogue looked like they were the ones that dropped off supplies onto Okinawa? They're bloody back. They're bloody back. Unless, let's double check this. The supply ships. No, this is a separate convoy over here. Didn't think that quite made sense for the same convoy or a task force to come over from Okinawa after dropping things off. So this will be a fresh and actually larger task force to deal with over here. We're gonna have to pull back, I believe. We're gonna have to pull back, I think, our invasion support task force to deal with this. So we have 2 battleships, a few heavy cruisers, and the Taiyo there, and we're going to have to use Soryu, I think, to deal with this as well. I think we're going to have to use. It's going to be far too late, but they may have to be the backline support now, because we're going to have a definite invasion on Iwo Jima. Can't do anything about that. It's 1903 hours, so we have lost airtime. This race is actually just returning to Iwo Jima now. So we can't launch anything, and we're too far away with any carriers or battleships to do anything. So unfortunately, we're going to have to say goodbye Iwo Jima. So really is the old switcheroo here. We've taken Del Monte, but for the loss of Iwo Jima, and this is a massive eye-opener. We do need to sort this out. Absolutely need to sort this out. What day is it? It's day 104. Shouldn't be too far away, really, from getting resupplied. So what we're going to have to do again is rely on the supply interceptors over here to deal with ferrying supplies backwards and forwards from Kure to Iwo Jima. If we had the time, I'd like to take some reinforcements from Del Monte over there, but it's not going to happen, and I do want to keep this campaign over here going as well. So going from tough spot to tough spot, aren't we? Let's take our where are we? Invasion support is over here. How's that ammunition looking? Not too bad. We do have 18 Zeros and 12 Kates still available on a damaged flight deck. We do have Mikuma over here and the Nachi as well. A lot of destroyers as well to help out with that. The 2 battleships should be able to take on Pennsylvania, but I believe we're going to use aircraft to deal with that. The stress making me stutter there. We're going to, of course, try and park some subs over here as well, but once again we are going to take an invasion onto Iwo Jima. So we do see, I believe that's the Queen Elizabeth battleship as well over here. They're really sourcing us out in our back lines, aren't they? They've given up over here by the looks of it largely, and that is very, very worrying. Very smart, I give them that. It's alrighty. So let's try and think clearly about this. We can't launch anything from Iwo Jima, can we? Not all that had a loss on there with a level 1 airfield. So I think that's really all of our options. For those wondering, the Yokosuka port, I know we looked at it previously, but it doesn't have a loss of troops and supplies there either. And the aircraft on there is short-range Vals and Kates, I believe. So that's not going to really help us out either, unfortunately, when we do get some airtime. So I think any points we do get when we get resupplied will have to be put into perhaps a small backline task force. I think the job there will be the supply interceptors. Might want to turn in the destroyers there for more modern destroyers, and we might give them a couple Congos. I do apologise, this may have to invalidate some of your comments. I'm recording this well in advance once again, so I'm still waiting for those to come in as far as I'm concerned, but we shall have to see. I will note them down. It's just the game be after some more pressing matters, I'm afraid. So we'll try and get in one more engagement for you, and I'll keep you updated. Okay, so our second supply interceptors, our Kumanagara over here, have come into contact with some large tankers by the looks of things outside of Formosa. They're not going to do a hell of a lot for any invasion power, but we do still need to get rid of them. It's fuel the enemy will most certainly need at some point, so we're going to focus everyone on to this first large tanker here, simply because it is nighttime. Our visibility is 36%, very much aided by the very close proximity here. So we're going to try and turn around to get as many guns on them as possible here. You can see there it's very, very close indeed. In fact, it's 3.7 kilometers away from us, to give you an exact number. We're getting a lot of hits on that though, as you can see. Very, very nice indeed. So it should be a walkover. I don't believe these large tankers actually do have any armaments on them at all. That's looking to be the case, isn't it? Which is excellent. So that should be made out of magazine explosions, really. Just waiting a tad there. I think we're going to stop turning away now and actually come round it here, so we do get closer. And now everyone is going to fire over here. We have fire at will turned on, simply because we don't need to do much else, really do. We don't need to micro too much when there's only 2 tankers about. So it looks like we're already scoring a vast amount of hits over here. So I think we are going to continue with our plans to put 2 Congos, I think, into each of these supply interceptor task forces, so that in case they do get caught short, they can take a better fight to the enemy. That's going to take some time though, and 2 Congos is not cheap. I believe they're, I want to say 55 points each. So we're going to have to get them out certainly one at a time. Unless you do, of course, sink a lot of cargo ships very quickly. But I would love to have done that earlier. It's all a ruse, isn't it? Enemies being very, very deceptive. Very, very deceptive indeed. We should learn a lesson from them. Take a leaf out of their book, really. That's not to worry at all. Iwo Jima and Okinawa, they're not really the most strategic of losses, to be honest. They're not giving us much income. The problem is that it does force us to retake them, because we do need the backline bases, and they are part of our victory conditions as well, obviously, to hold those. So we will have to retake them. Doesn't have to be instantly. We don't necessarily have to divert our resources there instantly. We could give that a couple of weeks to resupply and then build up our backlines there. So you know, it's okay. It's a fault of focusing our supplies down towards Truk and Guam, really, to begin with. But not to worry. This is now gone down. That's brilliant. That should be 4 easy command points for us. Lovely. Brilliant. Let's keep patrolling. See if we can patrol out here. Just keep that in a ring-ish, so we can catch that convoy route and protect Formosa if possible there. Still waiting for the enemy to land at Iwo Jima. The fact that they haven't yet actually suggests to me they're going to Okinawa again. So what I'm going to do is bring Soryu. I think we're going to bring that just over here so that we can strike both Iwo Jima and Okinawa if need be. But we'll wait over the end of the day and call it there, I think, just to see where they do strike. Yep, there we go. They're still at Iwo Jima. And there we go. Enemy troops have indeed landed there. So that's certainly a lot harder than the Okinawa strike there. You can see the balance of power. We're not going to be able to hold on to Iwo Jima at all. We are going to have to re-invade that. And that's blown that down to level 0 port and airfield there. So that's totally useless now. But that does mean if we are quick on it, we should be able to take that back fairly easily, since they have no defensive power there either, and any bombardments we send there won't reduce the airfields or ports anymore either. How's that affected our income? We were on 75, we're now on 74, so that's not bad at all really. It's just the fact that is a victory condition base, and it is in our back line, which is the scariest part about it. These supplies going nowhere near that. So we'll just see if that does retreat instantly. And indeed it does. So we're going to wait for the morning, which is now. And I think we're going to unload our supplies onto Okinawa. Just check the progress there. Still a bit of a stalemate, going in our favour. Supply interceptors here. Let's unload if we're in range. That's shore bombardment, you fool. We are in range, excellent. And that's looking much better. We now have a decent amount of supplies and troops. We just need to leave that to burn out now and go in our favour and finally defeat those troops. So let's go back to bloody Kure and get some reinforcements, shall we? And that will be the goal of the next video, guys. I do apologise for I think low amount of direct action today. But strategic nuisance is what's happening. The old switcheroo is what they're going for. So we now have Del Monte, but they're going to take Iwo Jima. And I'm not too sure how I feel about that. Sad, for sure. But strategically, not really the greatest loss. So, we'll see you in the future. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. But I've been the Edified Gamer, and I hope all of your nights and days are auspicious. Goodbye.